Hello and welcome to lesson number 16 of the Real Estate Purchase Analysis System Guide Series 1. Yay, 4 more lessons to go. Okay, so in the previous lesson, I asked a question and I talked about related costs in addition to the purchase cost of a house or a plot that you're considering to buy. So in this lesson, my question will be, do you have the total cash or the total amount of money that it takes to close out on the purchase of the land or the house within 2 months? Do you have the total amount of money that it takes to close out completely on a purchase transaction within 2 months? So having known the related costs in addition to the purchase cost of a house or land, it is also important to know your pocket. So do you have the money readily available? Do you need to get a loan? Do you need to get a soft loan? Do you need to get a mortgage? Do you want to talk to friends and family? Do you want to sell some other assets for this particular purchase? Now, why this is important is because sometimes some people feel, okay, if I spread out the payment period or the payment plan for this particular purchase, it does me good. Like I have some flexibility, I have cash to sort out other needs and so on and so forth. Now, while that may have its advantage, it also has its own disadvantage. On the other side, paying up and closing out on a transaction as fast as possible also has its own advantage and disadvantage. But I think the advantage far outweighs the disadvantage. Now, one of the advantages, major advantage that it has is that if you do not defer payment on a purchase, it is easy for you to spot issues, to spot things that are not palatable, and you can pull out almost immediately. Okay, but if you check your pocket and you say, okay, maybe I have 60%, over a period of time, I can add up the 40%. You may not be able to spot some issues immediately. And within that period that you're looking for the remaining 40%, a whole lot of things can happen in between. A whole lot of things can happen in between that may make you lose the 60% down payment or whatever amount of down payment. So are you ready to lose that down payment? If you're not ready to lose that down payment, then it is important for you to check that, okay, I have gathered all the costs and I need 100 million to achieve this real estate investment goal that is attached to this purpose. I have identified the kind of properties that I want to buy. I know the people that should be involved in this purchase journey with me, and so on and so forth. So this is how much I need. Now, do I have 100 million naira? Okay, now I have 60 million. Where do I get 40 million? Or what are the options that are available to me? Are there options good enough for me? Are there options profitable for me? What can happen in between the options? So let me give an example. I was once on a transaction where the buyer needed a place to build their business premise. So it's a commercial use. They wanted the property for commercial use. So they engaged us. We found them a perfect place, a highbrow area of Lagos, and the seller happens to be an elderly person. Yeah. Looking back now, there are some things that I remember about that transaction that is making me smile right now. Okay, so the seller is elderly. So there are some things that I advised the buyer to do and to put in place. There are some questions that we had to prompt the seller to answer. Okay, so some of these questions borders around the fact that she's elderly. The buyer intended to pay within a period of I think 3 to 4 months or thereabouts. and hey, this person is elderly. Of course, anybody can drop dead at any point in time, right? Whether old or young, but we usually believe that okay, older people are more closer home than younger people, right? So there were some things that we had to put in place that just in case anything goes south in this process, who can we then continue to talk to? Who can we then continue to relate with? Is the person aware? Can the person speak or act on behalf of this person? It was a property worth almost 400 million naira. So you really need all hands on deck, right? So thankfully the buyer listened, and we put one or two things in place to ensure that okay, if anything goes south or if anything happens, it's a transaction that can still be concluded. It can still be concluded. The down payment can still be either recovered, or there's someone that can close out on that transaction and rightfully hand over the property to the buyer. Okay, so you see, when I said taking off flexible payments for real estate has its own perks, has its advantage, it also has some disadvantage. Well, paying up on time within the shortest period of time also has its own advantage, because it's faster to close out on the transaction, and it's easy to spot things that could make a mess of that investment, because as you're moving from one step to the second step, there are things that are involved. But if it is too spaced out, you may miss out some issues, you may miss out some detail, you may miss out some facts, and at the point that you are now ready to make use of those details, information, or events, you may not have access to them. Yes, you may not have access to them anymore. So it's a lot better when you're able to begin a transaction and close out on it as soon as possible. So as a wise investor who doesn't want to lose money in real estate, before you even start, okay, after gathering all the costs and associated costs, actual purchase costs, and so on and so forth, you now need to go to your bank account or to your pocket and check and peep into your pocket. Do I have what it takes to close out on this once and for all, and to move to the next step? Even if it's a property you want to buy and keep, close out on it completely to know that yes, you are home and dry. Okay, so I hope you have gotten value from this lesson. Talk soon in lesson number 17.